the most corrupt law enforcement officer I ever faced, walked into my courtroom that Thursday morning and declared that laws don't apply to him. Chief Daniel Morrison, a 15-year veteran, head of the West Side Police Department. By the time I was finished with him, he understood exactly which laws applied and how severely. This case started with what should have been a routine traffic stop. Officer Jennifer Walsh, 3 years on the force, pulls over a speeding vehicle on Route 6. Standard procedure. She clocks the driver doing 70 in a 45 zone. Dangerous driving through a busy commercial district. When she approaches the vehicle, the driver rolls down his window and flashes a police badge. "Officer, I'm Chief Morrison, West Side PD. I'm responding to an emergency call. Thanks for the professional courtesy." Professional courtesy, the magic phrase corrupt cops use to get out of consequences. But Officer Walsh, an honest cop with integrity, asks to see the emergency dispatch. That's when Chief Morrison's story falls apart. "I don't need to show you anything," Morrison snaps. "I outrank you, officer. Professional courtesy means you let me go and forget this happened." But Officer Walsh doesn't forget. She checks with dispatch. No emergency calls, no active incidents requiring Chief Morrison's response. Just a lie to avoid a speeding ticket. So she writes him up anyway, because that's what honest cops do when they catch corrupt ones. The next day, Officer Walsh gets called into her captain's office. Captain Rodriguez shows her a formal complaint filed against her by Chief Morrison. The complaint alleges unprofessional conduct, failure to show proper respect to command staff, and interference with emergency response operations. Walsh, Captain Rodriguez says, "Morrison's demanding you be suspended pending investigation. Says you harassed a fellow officer during an emergency response." But Captain Rodriguez knows his people. Walsh is clean, honest, never had a complaint. Something doesn't smell right about Morrison's story. "Captain," Walsh says, "there was no emergency. I checked with dispatch, reviewed the call log. Morrison was lying." "Can you prove that?" "I have the dispatch records, the traffic camera footage, and my body cam recording of the entire interaction." That's when Captain Rodriguez makes his decision. Instead of suspending Walsh, he forwards everything to Internal Affairs and copies me on the complaint. Because when police officers lie about emergency responses to avoid traffic tickets, that's not just professional misconduct. That's abuse of office. So there I am Wednesday morning reviewing Chief Morrison's case file. Speeding, false statements to a police officer, filing fraudulent complaints, and abuse of official position. This isn't just traffic violations anymore. This is systematic corruption. But it gets worse, much worse. Internal Affairs discovers this isn't Morrison's first problem. Over the past 2 years, he's received 17 professional courtesy warnings from other departments. 17 times he's been caught speeding, running red lights, driving recklessly, and 17 times he's talked his way out of tickets by flashing his badge. More troubling, IA finds a pattern of retaliation against officers who don't show Morrison proper, quote, respect. 3 officers transferred to undesirable assignments after questioning Morrison's orders. 2 officers were written up for, quote, insubordination after refusing Morrison's requests to void traffic tickets for his friends. 1 officer was demoted after reporting Morrison's misuse of department vehicles. This isn't just a corrupt chief. This is a criminal enterprise wearing a badge. Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. sharp. Chief Morrison strolls into my courtroom like he's attending a ribbon cutting. pressed uniform, polished badge, that confident stride that says he expects special treatment. His lawyer walks beside him, not the union rep who usually handles police matters, but an expensive private attorney who probably costs more per hour than most cops make in a week. Daniel Morrison, Christina calls from her desk, speeding, false statements to a police officer, abuse of official position, and filing fraudulent reports. Up he walks to my bench, and immediately I can see the attitude. Not humble, like someone who made mistakes. Not respectful, like a public servant facing accountability. Just annoyed that he has to be here, like this whole process is beneath his dignity. Chief Morrison, I begin, looking at the thick case file in front of me. You're charged with multiple violations, including abuse of your official position. Do you understand these charges? Your Honor, he says, and his voice has that tone people use when they think they're talking to someone who doesn't understand the bigger picture. I think there's been a serious misunderstanding here. A misunderstanding. The first word in every corrupt official's playbook. What kind of misunderstanding, Chief Morrison? Well, he says, glancing at his expensive lawyer, I believe Officer Walsh may have misinterpreted a routine interaction between law enforcement professionals. Misinterpreted. Chief Morrison, did you tell Officer Walsh you were responding to an emergency call? I may have mentioned that I had urgent business to attend to. Chief Morrison, according to this report, you specifically claimed to be responding to an emergency dispatch. Were you? Long pause. His lawyer whispers something, probably telling him to be careful. Your Honor, as a police chief, I am always on call. Every moment of my day involves a potential emergency response. Potential emergency response. Translation: I'm making up excuses as I go along. Chief Morrison, I continue, dispatch records show no emergency calls at the time of your stop. Traffic cameras show you leaving a restaurant, not responding to any incident. What emergency were you responding to? Another pause, this time longer. Your Honor, not all police business involves formal dispatch calls. Sometimes chiefs receive direct communications about situations requiring immediate attention. Direct communications. From whom? I prefer not to discuss sensitive operational details in open court. Sensitive operational details. This guy thinks he can invoke law enforcement secrecy to cover obvious lies. Chief Morrison, I say, standing up from my bench, let me be very clear about something. This court will not be a place where law enforcement officials hide behind operational security to avoid accountability for personal misconduct. Your Honor, his lawyer jumps in, my client was performing his duties as a sworn law enforcement officer. He should be afforded the same professional courtesy extended to all officers in the line of duty. Professional courtesy again. Like corruption becomes acceptable if you use the right words. Counselor, I reply, professional courtesy doesn't include lying to fellow officers or filing false reports against honest cops who do their jobs. That's when Chief Morrison decides to show his true colors. Your Honor, he says, his voice getting sharper, more aggressive. I think you're overstepping your authority here. Traffic court judges don't interrogate police chiefs about operational decisions. Overstepping my authority. Chief Morrison, are you telling this court what it can and cannot investigate? I'm telling this court that police chiefs have discretion in how they handle law enforcement matters. We don't answer to municipal judges about every decision we make. We don't answer to municipal judges. This corrupt cop just told a sitting judge that police chiefs are above judicial oversight. Chief Morrison, I continue, every sworn officer in this state answers to the law. That includes you. Your Honor, he says, and now I can hear the contempt creeping into his voice. With all due respect, the law means different things to different people. Police chiefs understand the law in ways that traffic court judges might not appreciate. The law means different things to different people. Like the Constitution has a special police chief edition that exempts them from following the rules they're supposed to enforce. Chief Morrison, I say, sitting back down and looking directly at him, explain to me what the law means to police chiefs that it doesn't mean to everyone else. It means that law enforcement officials have discretion in how they interpret and apply legal standards. We understand the context, the circumstances, the practical realities that civilian courts might miss. Practical realities. Are you saying that speed limits don't apply to police chiefs? I'm saying that police chiefs responding to potential emergencies shouldn't be second-guessed by officers who don't understand the bigger picture. What about filing false complaints against those officers? Sometimes officers need correction when they fail to show proper respect for command authority. Proper respect for command authority. Chief Morrison is lying about emergency calls, showing respect for command authority. His lawyer tries to interrupt, but Morrison waves him off. He's getting agitated now, probably not used to anyone challenging his authority so directly. Your Honor, Morrison says, his voice getting louder, I've been in law enforcement for 15 years. I've served this community, protected citizens, and maintained order. I think I've earned the right to expect professional courtesy from fellow officers and understanding from the courts. Earned the right. Chief Morrison, what exactly do you think you've earned? I've earned the right to do my job without being micromanaged by traffic court judges who've never walked a beat, never faced down criminals, never made life or death decisions. Never walked a beat. This corrupt chief thinks judicial experience is somehow inferior to police experience, like judges are civilians who don't understand law enforcement. Chief Morrison, I say, I've been serving this community for over 40 years. I've seen honest cops and corrupt cops. I know the difference. And what difference is that, Judge? Honest cops don't lie about emergency calls to avoid speeding tickets. Honest cops don't file false reports against officers who do their jobs. Honest cops don't think they're above the law. That's when Morrison completely loses his composure. Above the law, he shouts, loud enough for the whole courtroom to hear. Judge, I am the law in my jurisdiction. I decide which cases get investigated, which arrests get made, and which charges get filed. The law is what I say it is. I am the law. This corrupt police chief just declared himself above democratic accountability, above judicial oversight, above the Constitution itself. The courtroom goes dead silent. Everyone, other defendants, lawyers, court officers, even Christina, is staring at this police chief who just claimed to be the law rather than serve it. Chief Morrison, I say, my voice carrying clearly through the silent courtroom. Did you just tell this court that you are the law? I told you the truth, he replies, but his voice is shaking now. Police chiefs have authority that municipal judges don't understand. We make decisions about law enforcement that civilian courts have no business reviewing. Civilian courts, like the judicial branch, is some kind of amateur operation compared to police departments. Chief Morrison, I continue, let me help you understand something about how government works in America. Police chiefs enforce the law. Judges interpret the law. Nobody is the law. That's academic theory, Judge. The reality is that law enforcement officials have discretion that courts can't second guess. Chief Morrison, do you believe traffic laws apply to police chiefs? They apply when we're not performing official duties. Were you performing official duties when you were speeding away from a restaurant? I was always potentially performing official duties. Were you performing official duties when you filed a false complaint against Officer Walsh? I was correcting an officer who failed to show proper respect. Were you performing official duties when you lied about responding to an emergency call? Long pause. His lawyer is frantically writing notes, probably calculating damage control. Morrison realizes he's dug himself into a hole, but his arrogance won't let him stop digging. Judge, he says finally, I don't think civilian courts understand the pressures and responsibilities of law enforcement leadership. Civilian courts. The judicial branch is staffed by amateurs who don't understand law enforcement. Chief Morrison, I say, I understand law enforcement perfectly. I also understand corruption when I see it. Corruption? His voice gets defensive. Judge, I've served this community for 15 years without a single sustained complaint. Until now. This is harassment, pure and simple. A traffic court judge trying to second-guess a police chief's operational decisions. Chief Morrison, lying to fellow officers is not an operational decision. Filing false reports is not an operational decision. Retaliating against honest cops is not an operational decision. Those are crimes. Crimes? He actually laughs. Judge, you're way out of your depth here. Police chiefs don't commit crimes. We prevent them. We don't commit crimes. This corrupt official just declared that wearing a badge creates immunity from criminal liability. Chief Morrison, I say, standing up again, you seem to believe that your badge exempts you from the laws you swore to uphold. I believe that law enforcement officials should be judged by people who understand law enforcement, not by municipal traffic court judges who've never faced real danger or made real decisions. Never faced real danger. This corrupt chief thinks that corruption is somehow justified by the risks of police work. Like lying about emergency calls is acceptable because cops face criminals. Chief Morrison, I continue, I'm going to show you what real consequences look like when law enforcement officials betray their oaths. I sentence him to the maximum penalties allowed by law. For speeding, $500 fine and a 6-month license suspension. For false statements to a police officer, $1,000 fine and 30 days in jail. For abuse of official position, $2,000 fine and 90 days in jail. For filing fraudulent reports, $1,500 fine and 60 days in jail, to run consecutively with the other sentences. Total, 6 months in jail, $5,000 in fines, loss of driving privileges. But more importantly, I immediately notified the State Police Certification Board and recommend revocation of Morrison's law enforcement credentials. No more badge, no more authority, no more hiding behind official position. Morrison's face goes white. You can't do this to me. I'm a police chief. I have connections. I have influence. Not anymore. This is outrageous. I demand you recuse yourself. I demand a real judge hear this case. A real judge. Even facing consequences, this corrupt official can't accept that his authority has limits. Chief Morrison, I say, as the bailiff approaches with handcuffs, the only thing outrageous is that it took this long for you to face accountability. This won't stand, he shouts as they cuff him. I know people. I know politicians. I know judges. This conviction will be overturned. Chief Morrison, I tell him, as they lead him away, those connections might have protected you before, but they can't protect you from evidence. As they take him toward the holding cell, Morrison turns back one last time. All the arrogance is gone now, replaced by panic and desperation. Judge, he pleads, please. I made mistakes, but I'm not a criminal. I'm a police officer. I serve the community. Chief Morrison, I reply, police officers serve the law. Criminals serve themselves. You chose which one you wanted to be. After they removed him, the courtroom stayed quiet for a long moment. Other defendants, lawyers, court personnel, everyone seemed to be processing what they just witnessed. A police chief being held accountable like any other criminal. Officer Walsh, who'd been sitting in the gallery during the proceedings, approached my bench after court adjourned. Your Honor, she said, thank you for supporting honest officers. Morrison's been bullying good cops for years, and nobody ever held him accountable. Officer Walsh, I replied, honest cops shouldn't have to fear corrupt chiefs. Today's ruling sends a message that badge doesn't equal immunity. Judge, can I ask you something? When Morrison said he was the law, what went through your mind? I thought about that for a moment. Officer Walsh, I thought about every citizen who's been told that police accountability is impossible. I thought about every honest cop who's been punished for doing the right thing. And I thought about what happens to democracy when law enforcement thinks it's above the law. 6 months later, former Chief Morrison was released from county jail. His law enforcement certification had been permanently revoked. No badge, no authority, no special treatment. Just another ex-con trying to rebuild his life. But the real change came in Morrison's department. The new chief, Captain Williams, implemented comprehensive reforms. Body cameras for all interactions. Civilian oversight board for complaints. Mandatory ethics training. Zero tolerance for professional courtesy violations. Officer Walsh was promoted to detective. The officers Morrison had retaliated against were reassigned to better positions. Trust between the department and community slowly began to rebuild. 2 years later, I got a letter from a young police academy graduate. Judge Caprio, I heard about your ruling against Chief Morrison during our ethics training. My instructor used your case to show why police officers must be held to higher standards, not lower ones. Thank you for proving that justice applies to everyone, even corrupt chiefs who think they are the law. Officer Maria Santos, Providence PD. Morrison learned the hardest way possible that saying, laws don't apply to me, doesn't make it true. That badges create responsibility, not immunity. That in America, nobody is above the law. Not police chiefs, not politicians, not judges themselves. My father used to tell me, Frank, the badge doesn't make the man makes the badge mean something. Chief Morrison dishonored his badge, betrayed his oath, and corrupted his office. When I applied maximum penalties, I wasn't punishing a police officer. I was defending every honest cop who serves with integrity. I'm Frank Caprio. Remember, when law enforcement thinks it's above the law, democracy dies. Thanks for listening, and God bless.